Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. Another sad day in America, and that is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. Bad things happen to good people all the time. Nobody knows why. It's just the way life is. Once again, we have mass murder in America, and the killer is a young man who is simply out of his mind. It's nobody's fault. There's no policy deficit. It's just an atrocity that's impossible to explain. This is the fifth time in 13 years that an American has committed mass murder. Columbine, Colorado, April 20th, 1999. 13 dead, 26 wounded, after two students shot them down. Eric Hallis and Dylan Klebold then committed suicide. April 16th, 2007. A deranged man on the Virginia Tech campus kills 33 people, including himself. No motive for the homicides. November 5th, 2009. Army Major Nidal Hassan kills 13 Americans at Fort Hood, Texas. He's currently charged with premeditated murder. His trial will begin next year. And finally, January 8th, 2011, 22-year-old Jared Loughner kills 6, wounds 13 in Tucson, Arizona, including Congressman Gabrielle Gifford. Loughner is currently in a Missouri prison awaiting trial on 49 felony counts. And now we have 24-year-old James Holmes from San Diego, who allegedly killed 12 people, wounding 59 others in a Colorado movie theater. Crime took place in Aurora, a suburb of Denver, a place where I actually lived for 2 years. Aurora is a middle-class neighborhood, just regular folks. Colorado authorities are holding Holmes, and there's no question he did it. So once again, we have a crazy guy causing a massive amount of pain and destruction. There's little else to say. Fox News correspondent John Scott has the timeline.
A little after midnight local time, the wildly anticipated premiere of Batman: The Dark Knight Rises begins.
All of a sudden, I look to my right, and there's this guy, who's coming through this exit door to my right. And he looked like he was an actor or something, like he was just like a prop.
About 20 minutes later, the shooter stands at the front of the theater wearing body armor and a gas mask. He is armed to the teeth with an assault rifle, shotgun, and at least one Glock pistol. First, he sets off 2 devices which release some sort of irritant or smoke in the air. Then, he opens fire.
Somebody is still shooting inside theater number 9 for an employee.
Somebody's spraying gas in here, too.
For up to 20 minutes, the shooter fires into the sold-out theater.
There was this one guy who was on all fours crawling. There was this girl spitting up blood. There were bullet holes in some people's backs, some people's arms.
The thing that affects me most is just seeing that young girl just laying there, just shot. Like, she's just a little kid still, Like it's just not right.
12:39 local time. Calls start coming into police.
We may have a number of people dead inside the theater. Okay, if they're dead, just leave them. We're in a mass casualty situation at this time.
Within 2 minutes, police flood the scene. People covered in blood begin streaming out.
The first thing we see is a 13, 14-year-old girl with a bullet wound in her leg, in her stomach, and probably her chest. And I think she was right there about to die.
Minutes later, police arrest 24-year-old James Holmes in the back of the theater. And once the sun comes up, the rest of the country begins to learn of the horror. President Obama saying the government will do whatever's necessary to bring the shooter to justice.
We're going to stand by our neighbors in Colorado during this extraordinarily difficult time.
Back in Colorado, cops say the motive is unclear, and they are not looking for any other suspects.
We are confident that he acted alone. However, we will do a thorough investigation to be absolutely sure that that is the case.
And joining us now from the scene of the crime on the phone is John Scott. So you're a Colorado native. Can you provide some perspective for us?
Bill, I am struck as I come out here. It's a crystal blue sky day. There's a light breeze blowing. It's warm. It's what everybody comes to Colorado for. The fantastic weather, the outdoor scenery, and the lifestyle. Friendly people here, and yet another one of these tragedies has happened just like it happened 13 years ago at Columbine.
Now, is there a culture in Colorado that is casual about firearms? Because that's going to come up. When I lived there in the late 1970s, everybody was outdoors. There's obviously a Western tradition where everybody has access to guns. And this guy bought his guns legally, I understand. People, they respect firearms there, but it isn't difficult to get them.
It is not difficult to get them, and I think there is a respect and a healthy kind of respect for firearms here. When I lived here in my early 20s, I had a rifle rack in the back of my pickup and would, go up into the mountains and flink with a 22.
Right.
It's quite common out here. This just seems to be the case of an individual who just snapped.
Now, I don't know whether you can answer this question, but I haven't heard it addressed, so I want to ask it. How do you get that kind of armament in a theater? I guess he had a backpack or something, but the guy's got full regalia. He's got 3 weapons, 2 that are substantial, large, all right? He's got tear gas canisters. How do you get that into a theater?
I think I can fill you in on that. You see, he bought a ticket, came in dressed as a civilian, sat in the very front row, and then sometime after either the previews started or the film itself started, he went through one of the fire escape exits that's actually located at the front of the theater behind the movie screen. So then he went out to his car, dressed up in all his gear, and after 15, 20 minutes, came back in carrying all that stuff. He must have either jammed open the door or used a piece of tape to make it to be able to open it again. I talked to 2 witnesses who were in the third row who said when they saw this door open and light streaming in from the parking lot and a guy standing there wearing a mask, they thought he was an usher.
All right, so that makes sense. So the guy comes in, he scopes it out, he then goes outside, he jiggers the door somewhat so they can get back in. He arms himself and dresses himself in his car. Now, the apprehension, in usually cases like this, the people either kill themselves or the cops gun them down. They captured this guy. Do you know how they did that?
I do not absolutely, although the witnesses that I was talking to said that at one point his gun seemed to jam, although he had a number of weapons on him. Maybe his favorite gun, for whatever reason, something jammed, and he just set the gun down and sauntered away to the back end of the theater and seemed to just sit there and wait. Now, there are also reports that he had taken some kind of prescription medicine a couple of hours before the attack. Whether that had anything to do with it, whether that can be confirmed, I do not know.
All right. Then the police go to his apartment. Now, Aurora is a place with massive amounts of apartments. I mean, I lived in one called the Falls. And people come to Colorado from all over the West because you can make money in Denver. There are jobs in Denver, and then they get apartments. That's what this guy did. He came from California. He came on in. But the apartment, I understand, he had booby-trapped because he wanted to kill more people who were going to investigate him after the fact. Is that true?
That's the case. Seems to be the case. It may have been. I wonder whether he wanted to kill some of his neighbors, because his neighbors say that around midnight, which must have been about the time he left to come to the theater, which is just a short distance away, they heard loud techno music repeating over and over again in his apartment, and they went up and banged on the door. They lived downstairs. They banged on the door to try to get him to stop. Well, if they had opened that door, who knows what may have happened.
Well, yeah, obviously he was bent on killing as many people as possible. And as I said before, it doesn't have anything to do with gun control. It doesn't have to do with anything other than this guy. And again, this guy didn't have anything in his past, John, I don't think, to indicate any violence. He had no record. No. He was a placid guy by all the accounts. Although his mother said something very interesting when she was confronted in San Diego. She told the authorities, according to the reports, she wasn't surprised that this happened. We don't know any more than that, though, do we, at this point?
Not at this point. All indications are that he just snapped. You know, my high school teacher here in Denver said something to me once that I will always remember, that the mind can get sick just like the body can, and he must have been subject to something like that.
Yeah, and there's nothing any of us can do about it. All right, John Scott, everybody, a native of Colorado, and actually John worked for the ABC station out there. I worked for the CBS station out there.